Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into the top 8 most destructive natural disasters the world has ever seen. From earthquakes to tsunamis, volcanic eruptions to hurricanes, these events have left a lasting impact on our planet and its inhabitants. Join me as we journey to the epicenters of these top 8 catastrophic events, exploring the science behind their awesome power and the profound consequences for humanity. We'll witness the destructive force of nature, but also the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable devastation. These stories are a stark reminder of the power of the natural world and the importance of understanding and respecting its forces. On December 26, 2004, the world watched in horror as a disaster of unimaginable scale unfolded in the Indian Ocean. A massive 9.1 earthquake triggered a monstrous tsunami. Traveling over 500 miles per hour, it struck coastlines with terrifying force. Coastal communities were obliterated in an instant. Over 230,000 people lost their lives. The 2004 tsunami remains a stark reminder of nature's power. This event is one of the top 7 most destructive natural disasters in history. On January 12, 2010, a devastating earthquake struck the Caribbean nation of Haiti. The earthquake, measuring a magnitude 7.0 on the Richter scale, had its epicenter just 16 miles from the country's capital, Port-au-Prince. The densely populated city, built largely with substandard materials, was ill-prepared for the violent shaking. Buildings crumbled into heaps of rubble, trapping countless people beneath the debris. Hospitals, schools and homes were flattened, leaving hundreds of thousands homeless and injured. The already struggling nation was plunged into chaos and despair. With infrastructure crippled and resources overwhelmed, rescue efforts were hampered and the injured faced a desperate shortage of medical care. The international community responded with an outpouring of aid and support, but the recovery process was slow and arduous. The 2010 Haiti earthquake stands as a tragic testament to the devastating impact natural disasters can have on vulnerable communities. This disaster is one of the top 6 most destructive natural events in history. On April 26, 1986, a disaster unfolded in the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. A safety test went catastrophically wrong, triggering a reactor explosion and releasing radioactive material. Firefighters, unaware of the danger, rushed to extinguish the blaze, exposing themselves to lethal radiation. Workers and residents were evacuated, but many had already received significant radiation exposure. The Soviet Union established a 30-kilometer exclusion zone around the plant. The long-term consequences of Chernobyl are still felt today. Vast areas remain uninhabitable for generations. Chernobyl stands as a stark warning about the dangers of nuclear power. This event ranks among the top 5 most destructive natural disasters in history. On March 11, 2011, the coast of Japan was struck by one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded. The magnitude 9.0 earthquake, known as the Tohoku earthquake, unleashed a devastating tsunami that dwarfed anything in recent memory. The earthquake originated deep beneath the ocean floor, approximately 45 miles off the coast of Japan's Honshu Island. The sudden rupture along the fault line released an immense amount of energy, triggering a series of massive waves that radiated outwards across the Pacific Ocean. Some waves were reported to have reached heights of over 130 feet, towering over coastal defenses and engulfing entire towns and cities. Coastal towns and villages were obliterated in an instant, swept away by the sheer force of the water. The official death toll exceeded 15,000 people, with thousands more missing. The disaster also triggered a major nuclear accident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, adding to the devastation and long-term consequences of this catastrophic event. On April 18, 1906, San Francisco was shaken by a devastating earthquake. The 7.9 magnitude quake struck at 5:12 a.m., catching many residents off guard. Its epicenter was along the San Andreas Fault. Buildings crumbled, streets cracked, and fires erupted. The most destructive force was fire. With water mains severed, fires raged uncontrollably. The death toll was around 3,000, but the true number is unknown. The disaster led to massive rebuilding and a focus on preparedness. The 1906 earthquake remains one of the top 3 most destructive natural disasters in history. In 1815, on Sumbawa Island in Indonesia, a volcanic eruption of unimaginable scale shook the world. Mount Tambora roared to life in a cataclysmic eruption with global consequences. Classified as a VI7 event, it was the most powerful eruption in recorded history. The eruption column reached 28 miles, injecting ash and gases into the stratosphere. Pyroclastic flows incinerated everything in their path. The village of Tambora was completely buried. The eruption disrupted global weather, leading to the year without a summer in 1816. Mount Tambora's eruption, one of the top 2 most destructive natural disasters, reminds us of Earth's interconnected systems and global impacts. In 1931, China's heartland was ravaged by what would become one of the deadliest natural disasters in human history. The Central China floods, an unprecedented confluence of meteorological events, transformed the country's life-giving rivers into instruments of unimaginable destruction. The Yangtze River, China's longest and most important waterway, began to swell beyond its banks, inundating surrounding farmland and villages. As the floodwaters rose, they breached levees and dikes, sending torrents of water surging across the densely populated North China Plain. Major cities, including Wuhan and Nanjing, were overwhelmed by the rising floodwaters. Estimates vary widely, but it is believed that between 2 and 4 million people lost their lives due to drowning, disease, and starvation. The 1931 China floods stand as a grim reminder of the devastating power of water and the vulnerability of human populations living in flood-prone areas. This disaster is often considered the top 1 most destructive natural disaster in recorded history. On August 29, 2005, Hurricane Katrina, a storm of unprecedented fury, slammed into the Gulf Coast of the United States. New Orleans, Louisiana, a city built below sea level and protected by a fragile network of levees, faced the full brunt of the hurricane's wrath. Katrina made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane, bringing with it sustained winds of over 125 miles per hour and a storm surge that dwarfed anything in the city's history. As the storm surge overwhelmed the levees, floodwaters poured into New Orleans with terrifying speed. Within hours, 80% of the city was submerged, trapping residents in their homes and transforming once familiar streets into treacherous waterways. The response to Hurricane Katrina was widely criticized as slow and inadequate. Hurricane Katrina exposed the vulnerabilities of coastal communities to increasingly powerful storms and the urgent need for robust disaster preparedness and response measures. This catastrophic event stands as the top 1 most destructive natural disaster in modern American history. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more content. Let us know in the comments which natural disaster you found most shocking, from tsunamis towering over coastlines to earthquakes shaking cities to their foundations. We've witnessed the awe-inspiring and sometimes terrifying power of the natural world. These events serve as stark reminders of our planet's dynamic forces and the importance of understanding and respecting them. While these disasters highlight the destructive potential of nature, they also showcase the resilience of the human spirit. And now, let's take a moment to reflect on the top 1 most destructive natural disaster in history.